Donald Trump has tried again and again to run from his connection to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Today, things took a new turn. The Oversight Committee released a letter Trump himself wrote in Epstein's birthday book. That alone was shocking. But then it got worse. And the Wall Street Journal, the same outlet that first broke that story, dropped another report. This time, the report highlights troubling claims about Trump and Epstein. According to the Wall Street Journal, reference photos and even a check connected to the story. It's easily been the wildest day in this scandal so far. On top of that, we'll look at the chaotic posting online, not just from Trump, but also from Carolyn Levitt, trying to spin, deny, and cover it all up. Dive in. Do me a quick favor. If you're watching and you want to support the channel, hit that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe. It really helps us keep doing this work. Now, let's start.
And I also want to point out that it is so rich that the Republicans believe in small government, and this is the biggest government that I've ever seen, because they have decided that now they are going to somehow be the local police that is going to solve local crime as the federal level. That is not what we're supposed to do, especially on our level. What we do is we write federal laws. That is our job, and that is the lane that we're going to stay in. And the only reason we're talking about January 6th is because the Republicans are the ones bringing this, not us.
Now more than ever, Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress are going to use every bit of power they have to distract us. They'll push noise and side stories because the last thing they want is for people to pay attention to this latest Wall Street Journal piece about that check. It's outrageous. The details in that story are beyond belief. But before we even get into that, we need to start with what Robert Garcia broke today. That's where the whole thing really begins. And of course, we'll also look at how MAGA is reacting. But first, let's start with Garcia's story.
Hey, it's Congressman Robert Garcia. As you may have heard, Oversight Democrats just got a hold of the Jeffrey Epstein birthday book and note that, of course, was sent by Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. This note, Donald Trump has said, does not exist. Well, once again, he is lying to the American public and is leading a White House cover-up. Now, I'm going to show you the note that we've now acquired. It's a little crude, so I do apologize if you don't want to see it, but this is the actual note. You see the president's signature there. You can read some of the words that he is sharing with his friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. President, this is not a hoax. You are lying to the American public. You are involved in a cover-up. Now, the Oversight Committee is going to be reviewing the documents we received today, and we will not stop until we get justice for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and all those that were involved. We do not care how powerful you are, how connected you are, how much money and wealth you have, or what political party that you are in. We'll get justice for these survivors, and we'll get to the truth.
Now more than ever, Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress are going to use every bit of power they have to distract us. They'll throw up noise, push side stories, and do whatever they can to keep us from paying attention. And that's especially true right now, with this latest Wall Street Journal piece about the check that was written. It's outrageous. The story lays out the sale of a girl, and the details are pure madness. But to understand where this really begins, we have to look at the report that Robert Garcia broke today. That's the spark, and it's already setting off reactions from MAGA. We're going to talk about those reactions in a moment, but first, let's start with Robert Garcia and what he revealed.
As you can see here, it couldn't be clearer that Donald Trump's signature on this letter matches other authenticated signatures of Donald Trump's at the same time. But of course, Carolyn Levitt had to jump in and write the latest piece published by the Wall Street Journal proves this entire birthday card story is false. As I have said all along, it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it. President Trump's legal team will continue to aggressively pursue litigation. Furthermore, the reporter who wrote this hatchet job reached out for comment at the exact same minute he published his story, giving us no time to respond. This is fake news to perpetuate the Democrat Epstein hoax.
The so-called Democrat Epstein hoax. You just heard survivors speak outside the Capitol, Carolyn. So tell me, how is this false? What exactly about it is false? And let's be clear, that is Donald Trump's signature right there. If you want something even harder to deny, look at him standing right next to Epstein in this disturbing new part of the story.
Also in the New Wall Street Journal story today, the Pascal letter included a photo of a poster board-sized check for $22,500, which has been mocked up to appear that it was sent from Trump to Epstein. Beneath it, a handwritten caption said, "Jeffrey showing early talents with money plus women sells fully depreciated, redacted, to Donald Trump for $22,500. The woman's name is redacted in the image." You can see the image here of the check being given to Jeffrey Epstein from Donald Trump with the mention of selling a woman. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "I have seen the horrific video of a beautiful young Ukrainian refugee who came to America to escape the vicious war in Ukraine and was innocently riding the metro in Charlotte where she was brutally ambushed. The perpetrator was a well-known career criminal who has been previously arrested and released in January a total of 14 times. What the hell was he doing riding the train and walking the streets? Criminals like this need to be locked up." The blood of this innocent woman is on the hands of Democrats who refuse to put bad people in jail, including former disgraced governor and wannabe Senator Roy Cooper. North Carolina and every state needs law and order, and only Republicans will deliver it. Additionally, where is the outrage from the mainstream media on this horrible tragedy? So in an effort to distract from his Epstein scandal, Donald Trump is trying to turn what is a tragedy into a political pawn for himself, as he has done with Epstein, only for it, of course.
Well, I think it's their instinct to lie, for starters. Was when they're presented with inconvenient information, it's easier for them to talk about the fake news and blame the fake news than actually engage on the merits. On this one in particular, it is true that it's not known that Donald Trump was bawdy, but there is this mythos that Will could talk about for sure on the right, on some on the MAGA right and the QAnon right, that Trump was like fighting against, the elite pedophile rings out there, and that he was, some warrior on the inside who was going to expose all these people. And now here he is, not only not exposing them all, but writing this note to Epstein here that is just extremely familiar, right? Like it's one thing, it is true that famous people sometimes sign birthday cards for people or sign generic notes for people. That is not what we're seeing here. I mean, we have this drawing of what appears to be a young woman, I would say, and Donald Trump talking about how they share certain things in common, about how they have all these wonderful secrets together. I mean, it's a letter from two guys that get in trouble together and have a bromance. That's what this is. It's not some generic letter. And so I think that's why they probably are more sensitive about it, because it's not as if it's just two famous people getting their picture together at another famous person's party.
Yeah,
it's more intimate.
I hear you on that. But I don't think would it be surprising that Donald Trump wrote something like this to one of his friends? No, even if that friend did turn out to be a creep, I'm not sure it would be surprising. I don't know if that inherently means that Donald Trump himself is also engaging in the same behavior. He was interacting with lots of people. I think making that jump is easier to do if the person is being cagey about it and strange and not admitting to just some obvious things. When you're not saying, yeah, I wrote this, I did do this picture. No, it's not me. Somebody else drew it. It's not my signature. When it looks exactly like your signature, that starts to raise more questions. But I want to linger on what Tim said a moment ago about the right canonizing Donald Trump as the figure who was going to expose all of this. Speaker Mike Johnson had this very weird moment on Friday where he suggested that Donald Trump was actually an FBI informant against Jeffrey Epstein. He was the one that tipped off the FBI back in the early 2000s. He walked that back and cleaned it up a bit in a statement today, but it just was out there for 3 or 4 days, out there in the press. Where does that come from, this idea that Donald Trump was the one? By the way, we had Tom Winter on earlier today. He's reviewed the documents, and the initial tip came from, according to the government documents, came from the family members of some of the girls who were victimized.
I don't know if that was for me or
Will. I'm sending that to you. I'm sorry, Will.
Oh, sure,
it was
sure.
a big windup.
Sure. So in this case, I mean, look, conspiracy theorists, QAnon believers, Trump supporters have had a problem for a long time, which is how do you square Donald Trump's friendship with this, convicted charged sex trafficker and pedophile, all these things, and yeah, convicted pedophile. And what they came up with was, well, maybe Trump was kind of going in on the inside to expose Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe he made Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal. Maybe he put him in the cabinet to draw attention to how awful this deal was. So they kind of exist in this alternate universe. And that's only gotten worse since Trump tried to close the Epstein case along with Pam Bondi. And so, again, it's bizarre to me that this has reached the point where the Speaker of the House is now saying, well, maybe Trump is an FBI informant. Maybe he was working to take down Epstein. But really, I mean, they're grasping at straws because, as you said, Katie, the whole thing is really weird. The idea that Trump was friends with this notorious pedophile, and all of a sudden his administration is doing everything they can to stop this discussion about it.
Yeah, I guess if you're innocent, why do you protest so much about it? Why do you claim that you're not involved in any way? Why is this not your signature? We've seen the images. We've seen them partying together. Donald Trump has given quotes to magazines about the kind of guy that Jeffrey Epstein was. It's all been out there.
This is a real bombshell. I honestly don't know how Trump recovers from this. Sure, his base will always back him. But even for the most loyal supporters, and it's only going to get tougher as we keep applying pressure. Something we'll be doing on this show every single day, if sat dat. If you want to support that, hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and if you've made it all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you then.